right, Casey. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome everyone to Beers with Bud. Today we have a good special episode. A couple things. First off, shout out to Alexander Leonard for the Montucky cold snack request. Here's to you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Casey.
Thank you. This is a good beer to start out with. It's one of my favorites to hang out by the river, do stuff with. More refreshing than a nasty IPA for sure.
Yeah, I don't mind Montucky cold snacks also because it's from Montana, which a lot of my family's from as well.
There you go.
So today on Beers with Bud, like I said, we got Casey Callahan here with us, and Casey's a good friend of mine. He's a very well-versed person. He's seen a lot of places, done a lot of things.
Thank you.
So Casey, on today's show, why don't you go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what your favorite beers are?
Ooh. I think it's like what I'm doing at the time, right? Like, I can do a Montucky all day long.
Yeah.
Like a 4th of July type thing where it's hot outside. And then you can have like an IPA, a snotty IPA that tastes like shit. And you just say you like it because other people like it. And you have a shirt that says it that you spend $50 for.
Beer snob.
Exactly. But, I mean, the Montucky's the way to go, I think. Montucky, a little bit better than Old English. That's what I used to drink back in the day. It was cheap.
Speaking of beer that I probably would throw up on is like Bud Light Lime.
Oh.
I remember that came out when I was a younger man, way younger, and it came out during the summertime, so it was like a good beach beer, good
well, the girls liked
summertime.
it.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
But I drank 400 in a day, so yeah, I got sick off of them, and it's hard to do them now. But
it's when the lining of your stomach just falls out and you're like, I don't feel good. I don't know why.
Yeah, but sometimes I won't lie. Sometimes it does hit that spot where you're like, you know what? I could do a couple of these because it's on the lake beach or whatever it is.
I think the seltzers have filled that niche at this point in time.
Dude, they're so popular. Everyone's got one.
Yeah, until you drink 10 of them, you're hungover for 2 days. The artificial sweeteners.
Well, Jordan Sanford on the first episode, he was talking about them. And he was like, I get a really bad hangover from these things. I don't know why. And I'm like, well,
hell yeah,
first off, don't drink seltzers because that's not whatever. But anyway, I was making fun of him a little bit for it. But yeah, dude, like Coors Light's got them now.
Oh, everybody's got them.
Bud Light's got them now. Corona's got them now. Truly, White Claw. I mean, you go down the list.
Yeah. Well, what I learned is when we were on the Grand Canyon, a lot of people got the seltzers. And we would drink
them. Wait, hold up. Rewind. So talk to me about this. You went on a Grand Canyon trip, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we spent 19 days on the river. It was phenomenal. One of the best things I've ever done. And most of the time we're just drinking, right? It was 10 beers per person per day. So you're talking about like 2,700 beers for 16 people. I mean, I don't know the math on that, but we brought about 2,800 beers.
So the whole purpose of it was just basically to like kayak down the river and chill out.
Yeah, so like 288 river miles. So you just basically start during the day, load the boats, go down and hit some of the biggest rapids I've ever seen, and then basically set up camp and party. We had like theme parties. It was like prom and 90s parties, 80s parties and stuff like that.
That's dope.
But it was phenomenal. But what I've learned about the seltzers, one of the guys was like a critical care nurse, right? If you get really messed up and you get fight for life out, he's the guy that's like giving you fluids or, bring you back to life. But what he was saying is the artificial sweeteners in there are almost just as bad as, I don't know how he equated it, but it was like an elixir of fake sugars. And that's why you get
the hangover's
so hungover.
Bad.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like wine.
Yeah. What he was saying, it was like the Ford Locos is what he equated it to. It was like that stuff was in the Ford Locos, and Ford Locos is like, we're not doing it anymore. And, Truly and all that's like, yeah, we'll take it from here.
Yeah, Ford Loco got intense, dude.
That's when people were like dying and eating each other's faces and shit. So.
Yeah, that stuff was nutty. But that's really cool, man. That sounds like a really badass trip. It was. I don't think a lot of people have the stones to even try to undertake something like that, which is
right.
Which is pretty cool. But
it was scary. Getting all that time off from work, like even I told them like a year before, and like a couple days out, they're like, "Hey, actually leaving for a month." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll be back." So
like, can you shorten up that trip a little bit because we need you back sooner?
I'm like, well,
no,
yeah,
unless you're going to pay me back thousands of dollars.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was good. It was really good. I think everybody should do something that gets them out of their comfort zone, because I think we were talking about earlier, like this day and time, especially what's going on with the pandemic and whatnot, is everybody kind of stays in their comfort zone because they don't want to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
You know, and especially with like with work and things like that, where we were talking about like, oh, I've always wanted to do XYZ, right? And nobody does it because they're like, I got my job and this and like that. But I think it's one of those things where you just take a leap of faith, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, well, shit, you're out there for 20 days, figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Well, the other thing about that too is that I think people don't realize that people are more resilient than they give themselves credit for anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I would agree.
And a lot of people don't understand that. So, like, for instance, there's an infamous viral personality who had the saying that everyone should get punched in the face at least once, because they'll understand the feeling that it hurts really bad, but honestly for a really short period of time. And
right.
You realize that like it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
You get punched in the face and you're like, all right, cool. Well, that's done and over with. So I can move along my daily life.
Right.
And I think that kind of also equates to taking risks, right? Sometimes you can take calculated risks that could be gutsy and or, you know, problematic, but you always will benefit some way out of it, whether it's learning a valuable lesson or, you know, saying, hey, you know what, I took that risk and it paid off.
Right. Or it didn't work and you tried.
Yeah,
right?
It didn't work and you tried, but guess what? Next time you want to do some kind of risk like that or similar to it, you learn your lessons and you know how to be better prepared for it in the future.
Right. Well, and I think getting punched in the face or, I mean, what have you, like taking that risk. I mean, it's all about, and it's funny because it's all about risk management. That's what I try to say about everything, but it's really not, because you just got to take a leap of faith.
Yeah, sometimes you definitely do, for
and
sure.
Like, what's that saying that they have like nowadays for like millennials, quote unquote? It's like you could tell somebody's never been punched in the face before.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But anyway, back to beer. So, do you tend to gravitate towards breweries like local or some of the kind of craft type beers at all?
I think it's like more about the experience than anything, right? I mean, It's not as snooty as it does. It's like something to do, especially this day and age where like you have to go wear your mask and go sit down, you know, and it's, if they serve food, all the better. But honestly, I can drink cheap beer all day and I love it. And I mean, it's more about the experience now because they got beer gardens and stuff like that. Like I like a good typical IPA. I mean, I love Guinness. But then you're talking about like a piece of bread in a glass. And you're like, you know, like today when we ate lunch is like after you're done, you're like, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you're all weighed down. You got that brick of cement in your gut and you're like, oh, I just had a 800 calorie beer.
Exactly. But I mean, like Montucky hits a spot. God, what's that other one? The one that they drink on Shameless. Have you seen Shameless?
I have not really watched that show.
The time. God, I can't even think of it now.
Oscar Blues.
No, definitely not Oscar Blues. He wouldn't do that.
I don't know.
Frank's just like a drunk drug addict. But I mean, I'm all about the cheap beer. It's all about quantity for me. I mean, like when I'm drinking, I'm like, I'm not a casual drinker, right? Like I don't come home and like, oh, I've been thinking about this $10 IPA all day. I'm like, hey, we're going out, get a pack of Kentucky and throw it in the back, you know?
Yeah, chuck back like 3 or 4 of them, get that buzz going.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a vessel, right? It's a vessel.
I mean, I'm similar to that in certain things, and it definitely has to be the environment that, you know, what you're doing for sure, because I can be that way where I'm like, I don't care what I'm drinking. We're going out to a concert or to whatever event,
right?
A party. So you hammer back 3-4 beers right away to just get that.
Oh going. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, I always have my old faithfuls, you know. And so, what's the one beer that you typically like lay back on that you always typically buy, like to keep in your fridge on a regular basis?
I mean, it would have to be like Coors Original, Coors Banquet.
Yeah,
always been a Coors guy.
The Banquet beer.
Yeah, well, because when I lived in Golden, I mean, our next door neighbor had like shoveler walkway, and she paid us in Coors, so I'm like, win-win.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, but like the tall boys, I mean, you throw 6 of those in your bag, and I mean, you're good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like beer that you need like the accoutrement. Like, I had this beer, and I'm going to need a slice of ginger, a little piece of lime, and maybe like the zest of a pineapple. You know? Yeah. And people love that. I mean, like they like putting that together. It's like the process more than like the flavor. But I mean, to each their own, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into my personal preferences because by this time I'm sure people already know. But
you're a simple man. It's fine.
I am a simple man. But yeah, dude, for sure. So Grand Canyon, what did you bring to drink on the Grand Canyon?
Oh God,
was it just Coors? Or?
I mean, it was like a lot of Coors Light, Pabst hard coffee is one of the things. Yeah,
you let me try that.
Yeah,
that stuff
was like crack.
And I'm not even a Pabst fan, but that stuff was amazing.
I hate Pabst. But I tried that the night before we left, and I was like, I jetted out just for that. I'm like, I'm gonna need more beef jerky and some Pabst hard coffee.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were drinking the seltzers. There's a lot of bagged wine too. Oh yeah, I mean,
That
going
sounds
down
awful.
where you like, you drink it, you
Smack the bag,
smack
dude.
the bag, or the turkey, where the hell they call it. A lot of that, a lot of indigestion too.
Oh yeah. Sure, your stomach acid was eating your esophagus.
But I mean, we were eating vegetarian the whole time. So
Ooh.
yeah, out of 16 people, 14 were vegetarian. We had a vegan. So like, I mean, they literally gave us like 5 pounds of bacon. They're like, just eat it whenever. And we're like, when am I going to cook 5 pounds of bacon? And the other guy was like, I don't give a shit. And we tried it, we did it a couple days.
You mean vegetarian bacon?
No, like real bacon. Like that's what they gave us to like, hey, we feel sorry for you guys. Like have some bacon.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we kind of cooked it first day or two, and it was too much because you're always washing dishes with cold water. So like it would just be like congealed fat. So like it's not worth it,
Oh yeah.
But towards the end, we cooked like 6 pounds of bacon on like the last day.
Did everyone eat it?
Of course, right? Like, what vegetarian's like, I don't know, this smells like bacon, I don't want that. And then people are like, little like rats coming to like, the cheese dish. So.
I've been eating vegetarian for a month on the Grand Canyon, and I'm dying.
You could tell, like, okay, you're vegetarian. But I mean, it was all right. It was all right. It was a good time. But mostly, yeah, I drank a lot of Montucky's, Coors Light, a lot of whiskey. There was a lot of whiskey.
Yeah, boozing.
And then, I mean, people that could do the extra things on the side, like the mind-altering drugs. They did that.
Oh, yeah?
So it wasn't my thing, so I didn't do it. But, I mean,
right.
It was good stuff. But I brought, I would say, about 200 Montucky's.
Jesus.
So in Utah, you can literally get a 33-pack of Montucky's that you can't get here.
Really?
It would come in 30 packs here, but it's a 33-pack.
I thought in Utah they had all kinds of weird state laws about how like you can only buy one beer at a time and not in that.
No. So they have like the liquor stores, right? Where you buy liquor.
The state liquor stores?
Yeah. And they have like the beer stores. So it's like two separate things.
Yeah.
And they had like this 33-pack. It was like a weird shape. So, I don't know.
I'm in.
Yeah. I was like, shit, I'll get like 10 of those.
Yeah. Give me that.
Yeah. I mean, towards the end, like, people were drinking like the, tequila already mixed in the margarita mix.
Cayman Jacks?
I think so. Or like the Jose Cuervo, the shit that like you drink and like 10 minutes later, you're like, my heart hurts,
Yeah.
And so like they drank all that. And then like I was like trading beers for like all kinds of stuff at the end. Like, hey, can you set up my tent? I got you like a couple beers, So like, I mean, kind of worked.
I will give you a 6-pack if you take down my tent and pack it in my canoe.
Yeah. Cause like there was 8 of us that were on boats, like, like boat captains. And at the end, it was such a pain in the ass. Like I was literally obviously indulging so much at night that I would wake up and I'm like, I can't do this right now. Or I wouldn't even
lay down for a minute.
I wouldn't even like set anything up, and I would just sleep on the boat and just be like that guy, like already like in his swimsuit from the day before. So yeah, I mean like Montucky's on the river is like gold. It's like it's like candy or money.
Or money, yeah, currency.
Yeah,
trading for goods.
Yeah,
and services.
Lesson learned though: vegetarians love bacon.
Oh, everyone loves bacon.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, and there was a girl that's like, I haven't eaten meat in like 6 years. And like, she was the first one like, is there any my bacon left? And we were like, sure. Like, I don't want to ruin your streak. It's like an addict. You're like, I don't know if you might go overboard. Next thing you know.
I'm an enabler.
Yeah. You're like, you're going through my bag to get like my last piece of summer sausage. You're like, what are you doing over there? Lisa, stop. So yeah, just food for thought. There's vegetarians. They love bacon.
Yeah, I think everyone down in there, they can lie to themselves and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to eat that, but I would eat, if no one knew about it, I would eat a piece of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were going to leave it out and just like watch from afar and then see like, hey, did you guys get the bacon? I'm like, no, I did not.
Like a surveillance trap.
Yeah. And then you just like, they smell like a hog, You're like, oh, you didn't? That's cool. Don't worry about it.
You smell like ham. Nice.
It was all right. Montucky's the way to go. I would, and they have a lot of cool merch.
Yeah, they do.
Is that the word now the kids use? Merch.
Is that the millennial word?
Well, yeah, everybody.
No, it's not bad. They got a lot of cool stuff. The sunglasses that would go perfect for this.
Yeah.
Guess.
Oh, Pit Vipers.
Yeah.
Of course.
Pit Vipers.
$100.
I feel like it's like a whole, what do they call those? Starter pack memes?
Oh, yeah.
A Montucky starter pack meme. Pit Vipers are on that. Pit vipers.
You saw what everybody's on the pit vipers, right? It's like naked people on their road bikes.
Yes, I have seen that.
Covering their parts. Yeah.
Yes, I have seen that.
I mean, it's blown up.
Is that like an ad campaign that was set up by Pit Viper, or did people just start doing that and it kind of became a trend?
I just think people from Portland were just naked on their bike with their pits, and they're
normal.
Like, yeah,
that's like normal life for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like aerodynamic or whatnot.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's free advertisement for them for sure.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Sure. So when I was on the river, I actually had a bet with the guy that was like, I could probably catch a fish using a Montucky can. Obviously, like we were 3 sheets to the wind, and I kind of like cut out a lure, like where the sun is.
So he cut out a lure where the sun is. Was the inside of the can still silver, right?
Yeah, correct.
So it would flash in the water.
So I cut it out, right, and I thought it looked good at that time. I cut my finger open to do it.
This looks sick, dude. We should invent these.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, yeah, like took pictures. I'm like, oh, we're going to tell Montucky, and they're like, I'm going to be famous, right? Yeah. Didn't work. Didn't work at all. No.
It's a good effort, though. How did you fashion a hook?
Well, I had a hook on there, but I like
an actual lure hook.
Yeah. I actually had like a J hook, like an eagle claw. And I kind of put the line through the can, right? So when you had like the hook behind it, it would like swim, which it didn't at all.
Yeah.
Because what do I know about lures and shit?
Fluid dynamics.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody actually used that. Like, what do you know about the fluid dynamics, man? Like, I had no idea.
According to the speed of the river and the flow, and the
yeah, and I'm like,
shape of the lure.
It was that time of day where like it was so hot that everybody's just wearing PFDs and nothing else, right? I mean, like you got your bits out. I mean, I tried for hours and hours and hours.
PFD, personal floating device.
Yeah, it's like your life jacket, right?
For the people that don't know what that is.
Yeah,
it's
like a life jacket. It makes you feel better. It makes me feel better because we're constantly.
Well, yeah, if you're in a river, dude.
Oh yeah, like big rapids. I'm talking like big water.
Yeah,
but it didn't work at all.
Yeah, it's a good idea though.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying. I mean, we fly fish almost every day. Caught some good fish, but I thought I was going to sneak one by.
Well, you know what the cool thing about that is, though, is if you drink enough Montuckies, you can definitely work prototypes for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's a prototype. There's a prototype.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to kill it. I was like, yes, I'm the smartest person here. Look at me go, Because I told him this story like when I was in Boy Scouts. I was like, yeah, I caught a fish with a Jolly Rancher because I just stocked the lake and it'll just basically eat anything, right?
Yeah. I
was like, oh, yeah, like... whittle it down, put it through, and I caught this like little crappie, little tiny panfish. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, I'm super smart. And like 2 hours later, I'm like sunburned, like on the back of the boat. I'm like, how's it going over there? I'm like, yeah, it's going real good. It's great. I'm like, yeah, I caught one. They're like, yeah, really? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm gonna need more beer.
All right. So speaking of fishing, did you, other than your makeshift little Montucky lure, did you do any additional fishing on the Grand Canyon trip at all?
Oh yeah, I mean we fish every day.
Did you actually catch some good fish?
So where you start out on the canyon on Lee's Ferry, there's a lot of good fishing because there's a dam right there. So as the water comes in, it turns all that stuff up and
lots of food for fish.
Yeah, I mean it was and everybody loves like the romantic side of like fly fishing where you're like.
Oh wait! So let me ask you a question. Were you fly fishing this whole time, or
I was doing both? I was like spin casting, right?
Oh, okay.
Spin casting, like like your grandpa taught you,
yeah.
like with your little lure and goes down.
Like your mouse bowl, huh?
Yeah, anybody could kill it on this river. Like in the very beginning, you could have killed it because there's so much fish, and a lot of people don't fish. Like that's not their thing.
They just get on their journey. And
yeah, they're just there to like be there, which is cool. Yeah. I get fidgety and stuff like that, so we caught a lot of good fish. And everybody thinks like they like romantic fly fishing where you're like the big old S of the line and it sits on the water and the fish come and breaches like a humpback whale. Like it never happens like that. Maybe I'm just a terrible fisherman, but it never happens like that. And I turn to like my little fly fishing rod that you pull out like a pen rod. It's like $20, and I caught more fish on that than fly fishing.
So what type of fish are in that river that you were catching?
It's mostly trout.
Was it trout?
Yeah, but they have like an endangered species of trout that only lives where the big Colorado, like the Colorado that you see from like aerial footage, and then the little Colorado flows into that, and they're called Humpback Chubs.
Really?
They got this big like forehead. Looks like the big front of a
kind of like a salmon.
Sort of. They have like a trout face, but they have a big
kokanee salmon. Is that what they're called?
No. It's like it's only there that they have it. I mean, I'm sure it's other places, but you can only fish before and after that. This confluence is like protected.
Oh.
So it looks like, like a Class C motorhome where it has like that big front over the hood. Looks like that. They look literally like they shouldn't be here. They look like they're like not dynamic at all. Yeah, I mean, especially just we had brown trouts and rainbow trouts, but we found the humpback chub. That's where they like go and spawn. I mean, you could have literally caught one with like a child's like sandcastle pail.
Nice.
But yeah, it was just
the tricks you see online where people just like wiggle their thumb in the water and just pick
I mean, or you could just literally like just grab it. So it's like 2 inches of water and they're going up to spawn.
Yeah. Speaking of rare trout, what do you know about cut bows?
I've seen one. I haven't caught one. My buddy
never
caught one.
Caught one either.
So the only native fish to Colorado is basically the greenback cutthroat, right?
Yeah.
And so like the brook trout was brought here in like 1900s by Germans.
Came from Europe, yeah.
Yeah, Germans or whatever it was. But the greenback cutthroat's like a hybrid that lives like high up in the estuaries. And I've seen one and they're beautiful, but I've never caught one. But
a greenback cutthroat or a cut bow?
I've seen a greenback cutthroat and a cut bow. But I think the cut bows, I don't think they get that big.
I think they're super rare.
Yeah. But I think from what I understand, it's kind of like a donkey, like where a horse and a mule mate and one of them can't produce something. You know what I'm saying?
An ass.
Well, one of them can't like produce, right? Well, if they go and they spawn, that sperm is like not going to work, right? You know what I'm saying? Like donkeys or mules cannot procreate, right? They cannot like produce offspring, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like that. That's what I understand from it.
Oh, well, either way, I've seen pictures of them and they look beautiful.
Right.
If you caught one, would you get it? Would you taxidermy it and keep it and mount it?
Yeah, only if it was like kind of tiny, like something pathetic where it's like 6 inches and you're like, yeah, that caught that. Yeah, it's like
there it is right there.
Yeah. But have you seen golden trout?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
TR caught one.
Really?
We were at Red Feather Lakes.
I didn't know they were out there.
TR caught a golden freaking trout.
Really?
Yeah, God. It was nuts. But it wasn't like as beautiful as some of the ones you could see online.
Oh, like
it
was vibrant. Like
it wasn't like glamorous. It was kind of an ugly color, but you could definitely tell it was a golden trout just based on like the actual base color of it,
Yeah.
But the ones that you see online, like if you Google image it, you see those.
It looks like it's like an exotic thing for the Bahamas.
Well, they look beautiful when you catch the ones that have all the aesthetics of the really nice shit. You know?
Yeah. I've seen two. I seen one in the Sierras when we were backpacking through there. And I seen one up in the Winds, in the Wind River Reservation, up in Wyoming. And I heard
Wind River, same one that they make the movie after.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good movie.
It is. God, I haven't seen that in a while.
It's a good movie.
Actually, that was filmed right on the reservation on the Pinedale side. If you're
like the familiar. Actual filming of that movie was on the actual reservation.
Yeah, so the reservation's on like the northeast side, I'm pretty sure. And that's like landers over there and stuff like that. Though. So they film on both sides. Yeah,
that's cool, man.
Yeah,
you don't typically get a lot of movies that are filmed
at the place
on location of what they're talking about or having the movie made about. Right. That's badass.
But a lot of the people that are in that movie are from the res. They're Shoshone and what else is over there? I mean, they're mostly Shoshone. That
movie didn't get a lot of press, dude, but it was great.
No, it was morbid. It was cool.
I mean, that's probably why, because it was dark too. I mean,
it's true, right? Because
it was pretty dark. Like that's probably why big studios were like, you know what?
Yeah, we're just gonna put that out there and see what happens.
Put it at the Cannes Film Festival for independent movies.
And like when I was up there, when I was in Lander for that Wilderness EMT class, like that's what they said is like people just disappear. They're gone.
Oh yeah.
He's like it just happens. Like a lot of drug abuse, a lot of alcohol abuse, and they just accept it, right?
Well, and from what I know, sometimes that you'll get like roughnecks coming through there that are doing oil field work and stuff, right? And like
transients.
Speaking of like similar to that, there's a show called Tin Star off of Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
There's a town in Canada that was trying to prevent an oil manufacturing company to come in and like drill and frack and stuff. And like they had a town hall meeting, and that was one of like the Granny Acorns argument was like, them damn roughnecks coming in here and messing up all our towns,
getting drunk and having sex with our women. Trying to take our jabs,
which is messed up because like anything else, it's just a few guys that really make that bad reputation for all those people. But
right,
I mean that's with almost any profession or anything you do ever. But that movie was great. I love that movie.
And I mean, the roughnecks up in Wyoming aren't as bad as I think like in North Dakota and shit. Because they're up there, right? They live up there. Most of them like have houses there. With like North Dakota, those dudes are just transient, like in and out.
Well, I think a part of that is just the fact that like there's nothing to do, right? Idle hands.
Right. But at least you got like topography, you got mountains, you have geography, like you have shit to do. With like North Dakota, it's like
that's what I'm saying.
Like we're just over here. I made $4,000 last week. Let's go get shit faced. And
I'm gonna go drop $1,000 at the bar.
Yeah, and we're gonna go to these shitty strip clubs.
And we're gonna go get arrested.
And the A squad is literally a D squad from another city.
Yeah.
So.
But that's what I mean. I mean, it's idle hands, right?
Right.
And like when you're in that kind of, I don't want to say environment, but like in that kind of, what you're talking about, I guess environment would be the right word, where you have nothing to do.
Right.
And all you have to do on your time off is drink and or figure out how to entertain yourself. It's typically always going to be bad.
At the expense of somebody else, probably.
Absolutely.
Right? But actually, there was a lot of roughnecks over on the Pinedale side, on the west side, that lived kind of right behind this supermarket that we used to go to all the time. And most of those dudes are like the best fishermen I've ever seen in my life. And so we were sitting there one day. He was kind of showing me how to do this fly rig, which is out of control. It has like 6 hooks on it. But he told me a story about the Golden Trout. And so, do you know where they came from, right?
No.
So they came over. They were native to the Sierra Nevadas in California.
Really?
Yeah. And so, like the great John Muir, like the naturalist, right, the ecologist, he literally put them in like mason jars and brought them all the way out here. And he brought them into the winds, like 1920, 1925.
Really?
And that's how like proliferated. Yeah. So they kind of went all the way down. I don't know how they got to Colorado. Obviously, I mean, they had to. It's a different watershed or whatever it is. But
right.
I think he kind of did the same thing. But he gave me a book on it. It's literally like John Muir with like a mule and like jars of like little golden trout.
So this man, by horseback, brought over golden trout from California to Colorado, or was that
in Wyoming? I don't know about Colorado. I mean, I'm sure somebody had to do it, but it was mostly the winds.
Well, through the Rockies, I'm sure.
Yeah,
the fish at some point have probably migrated into Colorado,
right?
But that's amazing, dude.
Yeah. And I didn't know that. Yeah. And I was like literally some roughneck that I met like at this shitty little bar.
Yeah.
And he saw me like trying to tie a fly. And he was like, "What are you doing?
You don't know what you're doing. Let me help you."
He's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I drove my Tacoma from Colorado and I'm over here to fish." So.
Oh, you were like a yuppie.
Yeah. I mean, at that point I was like, you know, I mean, Chacos and all that, like the whole shebang. I mean, I'm still kind of like that, but
yeah,
I thought it was super cool back then. Didn't know shit though.
So speaking of fishing, what is your like preferred type of fishing? Like, so you have rod and reel, you've got fly, you can ice fish. That's a whole nother game that typically is specifically.
Yeah, I'm not good at ice fishing at all. I like to spin cast. I like a little spinner. Yeah. I mean, most fish, like 90%, eat subsurface, right? They eat under the water. They go and eat whatever it is, like a minnow, like a predator prey thing, where like the romanticized version of fly fishing, like I said, when they breach out, it's like literally 5%. It never fucking works.
Well, and also correct me if I'm wrong here, because I don't know a ton about fly fishing, but like when you're going to fly fish, that window of opportunity to get that really picturesque aesthetic look for, what you're talking about, like in movies, that window is only like available like twice a day for like a minute and a half. Is that correct?
Or, I mean, it might be more. We'll say like 30 minutes. Yeah, like 30 minutes like in the morning or afternoon, because like the light has to be right, but you're also talking about like you need to have whatever's hatching, whatever's swimming. Right. I'm like, I don't know that shit. Like I bought these flies with this shitty fly rod off of Amazon, Yeah. And I'm like buying them here and there, but I mean, like spin casting is like, it's like that good old spin cast where like you know what to do, right? It's not rocket science. Where like when I see fly fishing, I'm like, why are these guys catching fish? I'm like over here and they're like looking at rocks and shit. Like I understand what they're trying to do, but I'm like that chimpanzee in the back that's trying to like mimic their behavior, Or
you're that guy that ended up like getting a job and you lied your way through. And everybody else trying to figure out what they're doing. Like,
and you like try to get the talk down. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? Yeah, what's hatching today? Oh, cool.
Where's the lingo of the day?
Yeah, I try not to let them see like my hook in my hand. I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you guys just hit that hole. I'll be over here, and I'm like trying to pull a hook out of my hand.
Okay, so that's another thing about fly fishing as well, right? Is depending on the insect and the time of day and stuff, and the hatch, right?
Yeah.
The hatch is the time of day when those insects are basically being reproduced at the time,
Correct.
right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And in that short window, like twice a day, that's when they're coming out, and that's what you need to match your bait with, correct? Your fly.
Your fly, yeah.
Your fly.
Yeah.
So you have to match that with the time of day, what's hatching, and then you have to cast properly, correct?
In the right place in the river.
Right.
Stand in the right place, and then not wrap your line around some tree or
bushes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a perfect type of thing where like you can just crush Montuckies on the bank and just throw a couple of Rapalas in there and be like, if it's not working, I'll just put another whatever on there.
Yeah.
Or cheat and do the power bait thing. When I don't hate power bait at all, I'm just saying power bait's like crack.
Well, it is, but and a lot of places don't allow it.
Not anymore. No.
Right.
Yeah, because it doesn't biodegrade. It says biodegradable, but you'll see like the balls of that on the bottom of the lake for at least like a month.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's crazy too. Typically you don't see it that long because I feel like the fish will eat it.
Right. Well, I've seen like remember the old cheese balls that they had like when power bait first came out.
Oh yeah.
I've seen one of those like sitting on a lake bed for at least a couple weeks. And I'm like, and the fish don't want that shit. It smells bad.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I'm no fishing expert by any means.
Oh, neither am I. No.
But I grew up with two main types of fishing: rod and reel, like spinning, right, lures,
yeah.
And then I also like bait fishing.
Right.
Now, bait fishing, I couldn't stand as a kid, but now I prefer it as I'm older, right? Because it involves a lot of sitting and waiting.
Oh yeah. Well, it's doing the work for you.
Right.
Before you want to yank that rod all day long.
Absolutely. When you're a kid, all you want to do is move, and I mean the attention span of a kid.
Just jerking whatever's on the end of that, right? You're like, I'm not catching anything.
Yeah, you're just like constantly dragging weeds up from the bottom. I mean, yeah. But so those are my two preferred styles in general. I don't know what it is. I think the complexities of fly fishing, as we just kind of discussed, and we barely touched it. That stuff is a big reason as to why I've never done it.
Right.
And I don't hate on it. I'm not saying people shouldn't do it because I think it's an art. I really do.
Yeah. Because I only got into it because like the pandemic, right? Like last year, we worked the whole time, but on my days off, there wasn't shit to do, right? Yeah. And my roommate was into it, and I was like, I'll get like this starter kit off Amazon. It was like $100. And I just did it for something to do.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand anything about it, like at all. Like I'll go up there and fish all day and catch one fish. And you see these dudes that have it down packed, like
reeling out monsters.
Yeah. Shit. Oh no. I mean, like I caught some pretty big fish, but that was because somebody was there like, hey, put this in the water, tie it like this and do it like this, you know?
Well, that's the thing about it too, is that we have the world of information at our fingertips with our cell phones, right?
Right.
But with fly fishing, I feel like you can read everything about it, but it won't actually help.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had this huge book. It's like the Bible of fly fishing, Colorado, Wyoming type of thing, like Midwestern West or whatever you want to call it. And I don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what you do. They literally tell you what to do, right? Go under this rock and it's going to be this time of year and you should use this, right? I'm like, okay. I mean, if I had that book in my hand, I'm looking at a rock. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that is.
Yeah.
But you have these old timers that are like, oh yeah, you're doing it wrong. Like the biggest fish I ever caught on a fly rod was at 2 a.m. in the morning at Lake Delaney. You've been up to Delaney.
Yeah, I've been there.
I met a guy, the people that I were with left, and we were hanging out, and he's getting his fly rod together. We were drinking, his dog. It was about midnight. He's like getting his rod together. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, dude, I'm about to go fishing. It's like the best time. And like the moon was kind of out, barely out. And he's like, yeah, these fish love it. So that's a blue ribbon lake, right? Or gold ribbon.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it's a gold ribbon.
But I don't know.
So like the fish are massive there, right? Like it's like the estuary where like they cultivate huge brown trout and rainbow trout.
Trophy fish.
Right? Yeah. I think it's blue ribbon. And he's like, yeah. And so what he does is those big streamers, you know what a streamer is? It kind of looks like a big
like a worm? Like a soft plastic?
It's sort of like that, but it's like mostly like material. It's like yarny. And so when you pull it through the water, it looks like it acts like a leech. Yeah. And so these fish at night eat leeches. And so you rip it through the water, and that vibration is what they sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's bullshitting me. It's like,
he's fucking with you.
It's midnight, right? And I'm like, we're drunk around the fire. Dude's putting on his waders. And he's like, yeah, tie it like this, put it on there. And he's like, because the trout cruise the shore at night because like the leeches kind of come out of the water or out of the sand, and I caught like a 22-inch brown trout at like 2 in the morning. And I was like,
dope.
I couldn't believe it. I was like screaming, like, yeah. He like ran over with his net and shit. I was like a child, and he couldn't even take a picture because I was just like,
pitch black.
Yeah, middle of the night. And my wader, I fell over because I was so ecstatic, and they're like waters in my waders and shit. So
yeah,
I mean stuff like that. I'm like, I would never even think about that. And that guy came over, was like, listen here, this is how we're gonna do it. We did it,
Well, it's funny. Speaking of fishing at night, whenever I've bait fished or people in my family bait fished, right? Because the guys who had taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
They would use, well, back in the day, this is before the cool gadgets and things, the advancements of fishing nowadays. But back in the day, my dad and my grandpa and all the old school guys would put bells on the tips of their rods at night, right? So speaking of night fishing, so they would bait cast, they would set their bait up and they would get it all squared away, and they would put bells at the tip of their rod. And then when that bell started ringing, that meant you had a fish on, right? So
okay.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
you'd have your pole in the water, and it starts going.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, there's something going on.
Really?
Well, it also is a very good time to prank your friends, right? You have a little fun with that. My dad's told me a couple stories when he was with his buddies. Back in the day where they would mess with each other and like go over there and shake it a little bit, and their buddies would be clearing coolers and stuff trying to get to the pole.
Like, yeah, how'd you break your toe? Oh, I thought I had a fish.
Oh yeah, freaking dickhead over here was messing with me.
Yeah,
and I broke my foot. It's great.
I never heard that. I mean, and the second time I've been fishing at night was like bow fishing. And that's just like
bow fishing?
Yeah, and that's like...
and a lot of times you have to usually have some kind of underwater light system.
Right, or like a light directly on the water. Yeah. But I mean, it's like clubbing baby seals, because the fish are like, what is that? Bang, and just hit them right in the face with it.
Off into the flame.
Yeah.
Shit.
They just come up there, you just smoke them, It's like, I don't think it was fair, but I mean, it's mostly carp, so invasive,
right.
So...
Yeah, they're turds.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, fly fishing is it's one of the most infuriating things, right? It's like when you go to work and... You're trying to do something, right? Like, oh man, how do I explain it?
Fly fishing?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like an art, right?
Right, but it's like when you do something every day and you still don't do it very well.
Oh,
right?
Man.
Like as an adult, you should be able to like spell pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But you don't. When you're on your phone, you have to look up ecstatic in like your phone just to spell it right.
How do you spell apple? Is there an E at the end of that?
So
I know what you mean, but it's like you're supposed to get good by repetition, right? Practice with repetition, but you can never seem to do it.
Right. Well, if you're bad at it, then you're just going to be like practicing being bad at it.
Yeah.
So
you spend a lot of money just watching everybody else get good at it, and you still stay in the same like skill level.
Yeah. Or
it's kind of like me in golf.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm terrible at golf.
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing. You're like, yeah, my stroke's getting better, but you're like, you're not getting better.
Yeah. My stroke's getting great, but I still lose like 18 balls a game. It's not good because I'm dumping hundreds of dollars in golf balls. It's fantastic.
But the good thing about fly fishing is it's you're just wasting time, right? That's what I use it for. It's like when we're on the river in the Grand, or like the pandemic, or like when I have a day off. I'm just over there wasting time, basically.
Well, the thing about fishing with me too is that I feel like I try really hard to be involved with it and do it a lot, and but it's one of those things where it's like, life starts happening and all of a sudden you're running out of time to do it, and you never seem to figure out when you can do it, and then when you finally get the chance to do it, you're like, there's so many other things I could be spending my time on doing, like I had this project I have to do, I got to get this knocked out,
right?
And then when you finally like want to fish, you're like, oh God, I forgot how hard it is to fish.
Yeah. Or
I don't even have any tackle. I got to go to the fucking store to go get bait, and then I got to go figure out where I want to fish and what time of day.
Well, inevitably, I mean, it's more complex than just going fishing, right?
Right.
I mean, like, gotta get time off. It's driving up there, right? I mean, where we go fishing, it's like, 2.5 hours away?
I was going to say, it also obviously depends a lot on where you live, right? And where we live, there's plenty of tiny places around to go throw a line in real quick, but at the same time, if you really want to actually fish,
I mean, it's 2.5 hours.
Oh man, you got to go to the mountains and stuff, right? And you're like, well, you got to make it a night trip. You might as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to drive 2.5 hours to fish for 45 minutes,
right?
Or 3 or 4 hours, and then drive another 2.5 hours back home,
right?
And you're like, oh my God, It's gone all day.
I mean, it's just never that simple, right?
I know.
It's just like camping. Like, oh, we'll just throw some shit in the back and we'll go. And then you're like, oh, what about the booze and the food? And like,
well, I just feel like there's certain places around the United States as a whole where people have the luxury of being able to go like 10 minutes down the road, throw a line in a little river or a little pond that they know of, and they can try and catch a couple bass here and there, whatever the case it is, and peace out. And like, sweet, I just, I went and fished for a couple hours. But you're like, dude, well, you drove 5 minutes to get to where you were going to fish.
Right. Well, inevitably in Colorado, it's like the population of native fish has gone down so incredibly low in the past 10 years that it's hard to even get out there, right? And especially everybody's moving into Colorado.
Right. And not to mention the fact that most places that you can go fish are so heavily regulated that you're like, well, everyone fishes, or it's so overfished where everyone fishes there and they're catching everything. You're like, I'm not going to be able to catch anything here. Right. Everyone's already catching your stuff here, or it's private and you can't get to it anyway. Right. And you're like, mother.
Well, and State Fish and Wildlife have been working against themselves since like the 80s. So, like all those fish hatcheries, that's mostly brook trout because they're easy to raise. They're, they're pretty hardy.
I thought hatcheries were mostly rainbow.
Well, they're switching to rainbow, but when the brook trout first came around, right, like the 1900s, they were like, okay, I mean, they're hardy. They don't get that big.
Right.
And
never seen brook trout get that big at all.
No, they're not. I mean, because there's so many of them, then they just kind of push each other out.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the past like 20 years, it's mostly been rainbow because they learned that the brook trout are just so voracious that they'll eat something the same size as them, right? How many times do you cut a brook trout with like the same size lure in there?
Dude,
because those eat whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of killing the whole fish population too, is like, I mean, it's overfished or overpopulated, and they're not really getting that much bigger.
Yeah.
Like the gold ribbon or the blue ribbon, whatever it was, the Lake Delaney, they like constantly keep brook trout out of there. I don't know how they do it. But they mostly do like brown trout and rainbow trout when they actually do stock it. But so many people throw it back there. That's why they get so big.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, is that like typically what people think as an act of trying to prevent something or like help out prevent the spread of a species is to introduce another species.
Right.
And there's almost always some other, what do you call it? Like conclusion or, repercussion that happens that you're like, fuck, I didn't know that they were going to start eating the rainbow trout.
Yeah.
Now the rainbow
100
trout
years later, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the deer population, right? Like, the only native species of the deer family here is the mule deer.
Yeah.
I mean, moose has never really been here. Elk shouldn't be here, but they are. So, and I just learned that like a month or two ago.
Speaking of elk, were they mostly like in the Pacific Northwest?
So
is
they
that where
came
they
down,
kind of hailed from, like by Canada area? And
I think
Oregon
so. They came down from like the Northwest, the North, and usually like we had a lot of grizzly bears here, like circa like before 1850.
Yeah.
That the elk would stay out, right? Because it's mostly barren here. I mean, it's pretty dry.
Well, where we are geographically, yeah, for sure.
Right.
More towards the Rockies. What are you thinking about, like bears and elk in that area?
Well, so the elk came down, I think, like when the grizzly bear was getting like pushed out. You're talking about like 1870s, like 1910, where they didn't have enough space to be. So the grizzly bears basically just died and moved north. And that's when the elk started coming down. So like Rocky Mountain National Park is a big reason why the elk are here. Those big elk herds, they survived in Rocky for so long, and that's why they're spreading out.
It's like a big sanctuary,
yeah.
Man.
And that's like one of the big things. It's like Yellowstone. When they reintroduced the wolves, it changed everything.
Well, they're doing that in Colorado now, too.
Yeah. I mean, they've been here, but I mean, more in force now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. They're reintroducing those wolves back in Colorado that passed this last year. So we'll see how that turns out.
God.
I mean, I hope it for the best, right?
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Well, I mean, and there's been like sightings of grizzly bears down Durango. I don't know if I believe that or not, but somebody said there was tracks and whatnot.
Well, did you know there's blonde black bears? Did you know that?
Albino.
No, not albino. Not like white with red eyes.
Right.
No, there's actual like blonde black bears.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And they kind of look like brown bears and stuff, right?
Yeah, but they don't have like the big meaty hump.
Yeah, they don't get that big old. But they can be easily mistaken, right?
Right.
And I feel like if there's a lot of people that aren't from here or know about the mountains or wildlife in general, they could definitely be like, I just saw a grizzly bear. It was like a 95-pound black
He
bear.
ate 2 moose on the way down. Yeah.
95-pound blonde black bear that's like just eaten out of a garbage can. Like,
Right.
I'm chilling.
But I mean, there's a wolf pack down in Durango.
Yeah.
So it's that far south. And they said it's like 22, 23 deep. It's a lot of wolves.
A lot of woofs.
What of wolves? Wolves. So,
Wolves.
but they were saying that though that big of a pack, right? That used to be a small pack, but I guess it's a big pack now, right? Because we're reintroducing. They eat 1 to 2 mule deer a day.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and they're successful like 84% of the time because there's so many of them, and they just outrun them, right? They just
pack hunt.
Yeah, they're smart.
Yeah.
Way better at hunting than I am fishing. But I mean, they it's gonna be interesting to see what happens for sure. Because there was like that iconic. Did I send you that? It was like an iconic picture where like there was like a herd of elk coming over the mountain, and there was like the pack of wolves like coming over there. It's like 6 months ago maybe. That's like that was up by Moffat County, which is like northwest Colorado. And they were saying that there's 3 wolf packs up there, kind of like in different territories, but it's about 100 wolves living in one county. So
damn.
After they eat all the elk, it'll be the fish, and we'll be shit out of luck.
Yeah.
They become pescatarians.
Fish only, right? That's what that is, right?
Yeah, pescatarian, yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, that always makes me seem like it's a type of religion.
Oh, pescatarian, yeah.
Because there's one that sounds like they're like Episcopalian?
Episcopalian, yeah. It's totally different, but
they shows.
Praise Jesus.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I always think that, like, oh, Presbyterian, what?
But just like vegetarians, they will eat bacon.
Oh, yeah.
I know they will.
Everyone eats bacon.
Everybody. Even the vegans.
Even the vegans, especially if they're on a Grand Canyon trip and they ain't got no nourishment, right?
Yeah, because they were eating beans the whole time.
Oh.
Like, I don't feel good because you ate beans for like 20 days in a row.
That sounds awful.
It was awful. It makes you really regular, though.
Does it?
Yeah, I can set my watch by it. 8 o'clock in the morning, boom, hit you.
I feel like you can still do that with a normal diet with normal meat and proteins anyway, right?
Yeah, but then you can't say you're vegetarian.
Oh, that's true.
That's like part of it.
I have such a regular bowel movement. It's great. Sick, dude. Good for you. I'm glad you're going far in life. So, what else is going on in the world of Casey? What you got going on?
Nothing. Just living out of the camper right now.
Yeah?
Same old shit.
Are you really?
Yeah. Well,
the Majestic, right?
Yeah. Getting 8 miles a gallon. It's been
Dope.
good. It's been good. Went to Bona Vista. Did some good, okay fishing. Okay fishing, I guess.
Yeah.
Caught 2 in a day. It's pretty good.
So,
actually, a lot of Montuckies. More Montuckies than fish, for sure.
Typically, that is how it goes when you fish, right?
Yeah.
Now, on your camper, you have a little nice setup where you can hook up a bike like hitch into the receiver, right? That goes
it's like a motorcycle carrier.
hitch.
Yes,
Yeah,
so I brought that up
motorcycle?
there. Yes, I brought it up there. It's like a life raft on a bigger boat.
Yeah,
much faster, much more fun to drive.
So, you have a motorcycle that you can strap on the back of your RV, which is sick, right?
Yeah.
And obviously that's more of like an adventure type motorcycle, right?
Yeah, a little Honda CB500X. I bought it just because I didn't really have anything else, right? I needed something to build more credit, so I bought it. But
but also, like, if you're taking your camper somewhere and you want the
Right.
ability to leave your camper and you need to go run somewhere, you can hop on the bike and
just go, yeah. I mean, whether it be like a grocery run or whatever, but I mean, like I rode almost 200 miles, just went up in the mountains and
riding
tires
trails and
down.
stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think everybody should own a motorcycle for sure. It kind of gives you a better perspective of like where you fit in the world, right?
I think that it is healthy for people to own a motorcycle for sure. And the other thing about it is that I think it would cut down on traffic fatalities, right? Because you talk about people in motorcycle accidents, a lot of the time it happens to be people because they don't see motorcycles.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. And they'll make a lane change and just sideswipe someone on a motorcycle and just take them out. Or they'll be turning out and turn in front of a motorcycle. That actually happened to a guy I worked with that retired a couple years back. He was going through a light like normal, and somebody was trying to turn, and he T-boned that person because they didn't see him.
Of course not. Yeah.
It was the person that turn's fault.
Yeah.
He hit those people. He T-boned them. His aorta tore.
Oh shit.
He was supposed to die.
Yeah.
But his life got saved.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Which is insane, right?
Right.
But that goes to my point, though, is that a lot of times I think people don't understand or even bother to look for, two-wheeled vehicle motorists.
Well, most people shouldn't be driving anyways, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
when
a
on the
good
road,
point.
but
That's a good point.
I think like if you like being a motorcyclist has made me a better driver in general, right? Just the way that I'm looking out the road a different way.
And that's what I mean. I think you're typically more in tune with your surroundings. You're more cognizant of being like, oh, I better check my blind spot to make sure there's not a motorcycle there.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, and every time I'm driving, I'm like, is there a motorcycle out? Like even if it's like snowing, I'm like, there's a crazy bastard back here. Like, you know, on his BMW. And
there's parts of that can help out too, right? And people like to, knock guys that have loud, annoying bikes, and I get it. Yeah. It can be annoying as fuck.
But yeah, you hear them though.
You're like, dude, your bike sounds like shit.
Yeah.
But guess what? You as the driver notice that, right?
Right.
So there's a saying in the motorcycle world that says loud pipes save lives.
Right.
And as annoying as it is, it's true to a certain extent, right? There is a little bit of truth behind that. Because you can definitely say, oh, well, yeah, oh my God, listen to how stupid this guy's bike sounds. But you looked and you saw him, Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. And I don't think people even understand that. People don't even like comprehend that. It's kind of like a subconscious thing. They're like, oh yeah, there's a guy, his bike sounds like shit.
Right. Well, like when I took that motorcycle safety class, that a lot of people are like, you don't need that. I mean, it was beneficial, but what I learned is like a lot of people that wear the fluorescent jackets and whatnot.
Yeah.
Most of the time it doesn't really work, right? Because if you can't see a motorcycle with a light on it, how are you going to see like a highlighter yellow? Like people aren't looking for that shit.
Yeah.
So.
And that's
not that I think is stupid. It's just I thought it would be more effective than it actually is, statistically speaking.
Yeah, because you're supposed to be able to, the thought process is like, if I wear this annoying, obnoxious neon color, it's supposed to catch the eye and people are supposed to see me, right? But like you said, I don't really see a bike. It's hard to see a motorcycle with one light on it, right?
Right.
It's hard to see that.
Yeah.
And even if you do see that light, you can't really even see the rider. And you don't know what he's wearing. If he's behind you, obviously.
Right.
Strictly behind you. But you're like, at that point, that neon vest or that jacket didn't do much to help have anyone notice you.
Right. Because
that's the whole point.
When I found that out, I was like, was this like statistically speaking, or is this like in your opinion as like a motorcycle coach?
No. Yeah.
And he was like, well, both, right? And he was like, they're talking about the fatalities and shit, He's like, it really doesn't matter. He's like, if your bike is red, orange, if you have a blinking light on your helmet, he's like, if they're not looking for you, they're not looking for you. Nobody sees you, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, and a lot of times where it's like a fatality, he was like, it's really not the motorcycle's fault. Usually it's like you said, somebody not looking and they just like cream you.
Well, and just like we talked about earlier, though, about the roughneck guys, there are assholes that ride bikes like assholes.
Yeah.
And they make a lot of other people on bikes look like dicks.
Right.
Right. And so you have to deal with that stigma, and you say, hey, well, look at this guy weaving in and out of traffic, riding his motorcycle like an asshole.
Right. Well,
and you're like, and as a motorcyclist, you're like, you're pissed because you're like, that guy I know is making people think that I'm an asshole.
Right.
Like when I ride my bike.
But it's no different than like the dude with the BMW that goes and swerves through the lanes and shit, right?
Right. But that's just considered normal day-to-day like driving, right?
Right.
People are
especially here, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just moved here from California and I know how to drive.
Did you move here from California?
Or Connecticut or whatever. What have you?
Coastal city.
Yeah, coastal city. Or the Midwest.
Or the Midwest. There's a lot of people that have moved here from the Midwest, and it's not good.
Not good.
But anyway, I getting down to the point of it, I think there's a lot of people that should take more interest in having a motorcycle, being on a motorcycle, or even just learning more information about it in general, right?
Right.
Especially because there's people, you drive, a lot of people drive almost every day to go somewhere, work, errands, grocery stores.
Right.
And you share the road with these people.
Right.
And it's like, maybe you should do some looking into it and say, hey, well, I've never ridden a motorcycle, never owned a motorcycle. I don't know anybody that owns a motorcycle, but,
Well, that's what I did. I didn't know shit. Like when I went about my motorcycle, I couldn't even drive it because I didn't have my endorsement.
Yeah.
And I've ridden motorcycles before, but like, they were like, yeah, you can't ride that. I'm like, well, I know that's the one I want. And then I went and took that motorcycle safety class that people are like, you don't need that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's just like one of the things, like, I jumped in like with 2 feet. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy a motorcycle. I'm glad I did. I bought it in July. I already have 5,000 miles on it in half a year. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, for sure.
One of those things.
I have a motorcycle, and I enjoy it thoroughly. I think there's just sometimes when you're riding and you're alone, I think it's the biggest reason why a lot of people in America buy motorcycles especially is the escapism, right?
Right, right.
And you can get to where you want to go fast.
Right.
It just seems like you can zip around, right? But at the same time, like when you get to those places and you get to that escape and you find it and you feel it when you're riding, that feeling is so intoxicating, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it makes you want to keep doing it more.
Right.
And that's another thing that people don't understand about owning a motorcycle or having a motorcycle, and they're like, I don't get the point. When you find that escape and you get to that point you want to get to, and it just comes to you and you're overwhelmed with it, and when you're by yourself on your bike and you're sitting there in the open road and all you feel is wind on your face and you are where you are in your freedom moment, that feeling is almost unrivaled, right?
Oh, I would agree.
And so that's what it's for. That's what it's about.
Right. Right.
You get that rush of endorphins and you're like, oh my God, this is why I bought this bike. This is why I do it.
Because like when I bought mine, I knew that you rode one, but like it wasn't in my head, right? Like I bought one because I wanted one.
Right.
And I think that's the coolest thing about a lot of people that buy motorcycles. Like I just want one.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm going to join a gang or, my friends have them, right? It's like, well, let me get out there, Like I think about the snow speeders in Star Wars. I'm like, that's what I feel like. I'm just like cruising. Like,
yeah.
Like that's like my mentality when I'm out there. But I don't know. I guess it's all about
love motorcycles, man. I mean, I'm an advocate for it. I will always tell people if you don't know anything about it or if you're ever considering it, don't consider it anymore. Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it.
Because they're so cheap. I mean, you can get get a cheap one for $2,000, and if it doesn't work,
you can save up for 6 months and buy yourself a motorcycle.
Right.
If you were considering it and you're hesitant on it, just do it.
Right.
Do it. It's going to be worth it.
All I gotta say is, do not buy a 1,000cc bike for your first bike.
No.
Don't do that.
Do not do that.
I've seen too many crashes. Well, and then you got people who still buy like a 600cc bike and then don't ride aggressively. And that's like, I think that's one thing that's like lost on deaf ears is like, you need to ride aggressively.
Well, I don't think aggressive is the right word, right? Defensive. I think defensive is the right word.
In my opinion, I ride aggressively. Like, not that I'm weaving in and out of cars and stuff like that, but if I'm making a move, I'm making a move.
Yes.
If I'm pulling out, I'm
deliberate.
Hammering. Yeah, I'm hammering it down, right?
Yes.
Like, I ride aggressively. That's not that I'm riding like out of control, but within
like running people off the road.
It's like within my means, and I'm deliberately doing things.
Yeah, I think that's the right word that I'm thinking of, and how I ride too is deliberate, right?
Right.
And like I will always position myself to make sure that like you're in people's mirrors and like their main mirror views, not their blind spots.
Right.
That's something you got to be conscious about as a motorcycle rider though too, right?
Well,
if you want to try to avoid those things, you have to also consider people driving on the road.
Right.
Obviously. So you always want to be most visible as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And fluorescent colors isn't always the key.
Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't help, and I think you can definitely do it, but you have to be visible actively on how you ride.
Yeah.
Not how you look, how you ride. You have to be actively visible, right? You have to be cognizant of how people fucking drive, and you have to be deliberate in the moves that you make. Your lane changes, your turns, all of it, right?
I think that the best way to ride is not anywhere near cars. Like, I hate being by cars, right? Like when I ride to work, I'm way back, or like when I'm in the mountains, I'm like way back, or I'm on a dirt road. I'm like, the best way to stay alive is like, don't be a bad car. Or a minivan.
Yeah.
Dude, minivans are like the worst. I think minivans scare me more than like getting shot somewhere.
Semis, dude. Semis terrify me.
Yeah.
Even still.
I don't even ride on 25. I don't even ride on the highway. I literally don't.
I try to avoid it too. And I've been riding a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's still an element of fear upon it, right? Where you're like, I don't want to ride next to a semi. I try to fly past them. I'm not kidding. I hammer it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm even close to riding the same speed as a semi, and like there's a car in front of me, I'm on their ass and like basically putting my headlight in their mirror saying, get the fuck going, because I don't want to be next to the semi.
Right. Well, I don't think it's like, for me, like,
and if there is no one in front of me, then I fucking hammer it.
Yeah.
Bam, I'm gone.
I'm more scared of like the rocks getting kicked up.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Like where it just takes your helmet off. Yeah. you fly out your body, like your soul is your body. But I don't know, man. it's a dichotomy, right? It's fun versus risk management, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess that's anything.
Speaking of risk management again, yeah, for sure.
I guess
There's a lot of people that are scared of it, dude. Lot. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, well, what?
Just how many people like they won't even consider riding it because they're just scared of it.
Oh yeah,
they won't do it.
My mom still doesn't know I have a motorcycle. So
Mama Callahan, if you're watching, he still doesn't have one.
No, like my dad knows. My dad had one and he got really hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that night that we went out, UNTR came over and we went downtown to Fort Collins, you know, like that day I told my mom, but luckily she was like, well, drunk. So she doesn't remember it. And so
it was a joke, I swear.
Yeah. And so now I'm like, I'm 33 years old. I'm still scared to tell my mom I have a motorcycle, you know? So I'm like,
well, like I said, there's people that I've met people.
It's like certain death, right?
Yeah, they're like I would never buy a bike. You're gonna die.
Certain death.
And you're like, well, hold on a minute. You could die walking to your car.
Right.
I mean, come on now.
Right.
A little bit of risk management in there. Yeah. Your odds probably could go up for a fatality and a wreck, but at the same time, it's like if you're scared of that, then just be better at riding. Right. Be better at riding.
Or just, I mean. And the people that are scared are never going to ride. Right?
And they won't. And the thing is,
those are the people that are on their phones in their cars on the highway, right? Those are the people that are going to kill motorcyclists.
I've never ride a bike. It's too scary.
Yeah.
And they're the ones.
But I'll be over there tweeting. I'll be over there tweeting my political opinion when I'm on 25 going 75. You know what I mean? So.
And not even looking, just changing lanes.
Yeah.
Douche.
Yeah. I got to go over and get my coffee, and then I'm going to hit Chick-fil-A and then explosive diarrhea. I got to, get off.
It's like some things people will refuse to do because they just are scared of it or feel like they can't handle that, right?
Right.
But I think there's some kind of element to where if that's how you feel about it, then get better at it, right?
Right.
Dive into it a little bit and be like, I don't understand this. I don't know why. I don't see the attraction. It's certain death or whatever the case may be, because this could encompass a lot of things. This is very generalized. You can be like, well, maybe I should do some research into it.
Right.
And figure it out. Like, what's the thrill? What's the catch? Why do people do it?
I think, again, this goes for a very more broad topic, is people don't know what they don't know, right? So they're like, I don't know. Like, I don't like that because I don't know why.
Right.
It's just like a broad.
I've been told it's bad.
Yeah, it's a broad generalization. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've
been told it's deadly.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, yeah, everything's fucking deadly though. Everything's deadly.
Oh, well,
everything's going to give you cancer. Everything's deadly. Like you can't live your life thinking, well, fuck, I could die riding a motorcycle. And you can, but you can also die driving your car. You can die eating too fast. You can die taking a shit, pushing too hard. Like,
it's true.
I mean,
that's where heart attacks happen.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to be able to step outside the bounds of fear and take a little bit of risk and say, yes. And obviously don't be reckless, right? Like, well, fuck it. I don't have no fear. I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want. Cause I can die doing anything. Right. I'm not saying do whatever the fuck, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, poke yourself out of that bubble. Get a little bit more of that adrenaline going through your veins. Get your heart pumping going a little bit and say, hey, motorcycles terrify me, but maybe I should sign up for a course.
Right.
Maybe I'll take a course. And the thing is, too, those courses are so easy for people to learn that even if you are still uncomfortable with it afterwards, you don't have to ride a bike.
And you save money, too.
Yeah. But
on your insurance.
You don't have to ride the bike, right? You do the course and you're like, it's still not for me. I can't do it.
Right. Well, and you thrash their bike.
But that goes back. Yeah, for sure. You ruined their bike.
Yeah.
But that goes back to what we said earlier. Like, well, at least you took the risk and you can say you did it, right?
Right.
I took that risk. I got myself out of my comfort zone. I took a lesson on a motorcycle and I'm still not on board. Well, guess what? I'll respect you more for that, right?
Right.
Because guess what? You did take yourself out of the comfort zone. You did take a risk. And you can probably see now, even though it's not for you,
right? It's
for a lot of people. And you could probably have some kind of understanding with that too, as the person that says, well, I still don't want to do it.
Right. I don't know. I think that a lot of new riders are more scared of actually just getting on the bike than anything, right?
Oh yeah.
Like when I went to that class, right? Like I brought my own motorcycle, like my brand new motorcycle. But a lot of people were just like, oh, I want to ride a motorcycle. Let's ride, right? And then they just literally can't even get on it. They get on it and they're like, I don't know. You're like, well, why are you here?
I thought you just twist the throttle.
Oh yeah,
right?
people did.
Do that?
Like people did. They just like let go, and you see like, I mean, the funniest shit I've ever seen was at that motorcycle class where like this girl just gunned it, let the clutch out, and then the bike just went out from underneath her and just like, I mean, it went all the way across the parking lot. It's cool as shit. And like, hit the little barrier. But yeah, that was like mostly the thing was like they made a decision to do it, but they just didn't full-heartedly jump into it, right?
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, I know how to ride, and just let it go. But yeah, most people are just so scared.
Oh yeah.
But,
Well, the thing is, or it's not that they're scared, but it's just like blind ignorance, right?
oh yeah,
They don't understand.
well shit, it's like all these people that have never owned a gun that just bought a gun, and it's like the guy at the counter's like showing them how to load it and unload it, right? It's like that whole thing where you're like, these people, you're gonna kill somebody, right?
Or you're gonna hurt yourself,
Right,
badly.
shoot yourself in the foot.
You're gonna maim yourself or someone else because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Look, I mean, I think the pandemic's caused a lot of people to, irrationally, out of fear, buy weapons, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
It's your right as an American to do so.
Well,
but it's like,
I mean, the pandemic drove me to get a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, screw it, right? If I'm going to die on a ventilator, it better be on a motorcycle.
yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's just at least get yourself outside the comfort zone, and that's, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's a double-edged sword. People like irrationally buying guns in the pandemic. Well, guess what? Maybe that caused a lot of people that said they would never own a firearm said they were going to.
Oh yeah,
right.
I mean, numerous people I know, they're like, I'll get one because everybody else has one, right?
Right. Well, they're flying off the shelves. Why?
Yeah.
Panic buy.
It was what was it? Weapons, ammo, and toilet paper. Like, oh, he's got it. I want it. It's what's that mentality? Oh, the crab. You have the crab mentality. So we have a bucket of crabs, and one's like almost about to get out. The other crabs like pull it down.
Yeah, he's almost out. I'm gonna go, ride them coattails.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like I need what he has.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
it's crab mentality.
Yeah, man, it's just wild.
Well, they know. They know.
Yeah, they do know.
Try to drag me down when I'm getting out.
I may almost made it.
Oh man. Whether it be motorcycles, fishing, drinking, or rafting, risk management.
Yeah. Get out of your comfort zone, people. Do something crazy.
You need to.
Yeah.
You need to.
Well, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on, and good luck, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be back soon.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, buddy.
Bye.